When you were milking for Mr. Collins, would you describe to me the milking parlour, whether you milked one at a time, three at a time, or how it was?
Three at a time.
Three.
Three at a time.
Right.
And that's with the machine, that's with the milking machine?
Yeah, with
And how was the milk collected?
the lorry came out from Farringdon.
And that was in churns then?
That was in the church, yeah.
Right. And how many churns did you put out?
Well, I used to put out quite a lot actually when I...
What do you mean by a
10.
lot? Sort of 4 or
Well,
5? Or?
When I got paid on what I produced, sometimes I was sending away anything from 90 to 125 gallons or something like that, you see. So if it was 125 gallons, you're up to, well, over the 10 churns would be the
So
100 gallons.
how many gallons went into a churn?
10 to a churn.
Right.
How many gallons per cow?
But, lots of my cows are very high yielding cows.
Yeah.
And at one time there was 18 of them, not all at the same time, mind you, but would produce 10 gallons a day.
Yeah.
And what breed of cow?
That was the Frisian. But we sold one barren cow, actually. No, she wasn't barren. She was in calf, and she wasn't Frisian. She was a pole, sort of bluey white thing. Her name Polima. We sold that to Mr. Rouse. And after that, she produced 2 twin calves. And of course then she was barren, but she just milked to milk to milk to milk. I don't know for how long, but you asked Derek. I think she must have milked for a couple of years.
And when you were doing the milking, did you have a day off?
Well, I should have done. I didn't always have a day off, but Johnny Hunt, or mainly John Hunt would come and do a day for me.
And was that a different day? Did it vary, or was
Well,
it...
if I told her, I didn't always have a day. I didn't always have a day off. So.
But when you did, was it always the same day of the week? Was it always a
No,
Sunday?
not necessarily.
So you varied the day you had off.
What I did, I hate to say it now, but for over the 10 years, I only had 4 or 5 sort of weekends off. I didn't very often have weekends. Unless, of course, it was actually in my holiday, but not through, you know.
What feed was given to the cows in the winter?
Silage, kale, some root crop, hay.
Did you chop the root crops as well as milking the cows, or was that somebody else's job?
Well, if we chopped, we'd have them chopped. It was the same with the cake. Originally, we mixed up the ingredients, you know, and then afterwards it was made into pellets down at the other farm. So
when you say the other farm, which
down
farm?
in Wiltshire, down at West
Near Devizes.
Yeah.
Yes, near West Lavington.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right. And the kale that you grew, where did you grow that?
We changed. We had quite like a routine for that, you know, different fields. Yeah, different fields.
And how high did it grow?
6 foot sort of thing.
Did you ever put the cows out with the equivalent of an electric fence to eat the kale?
We strip grazed.
Yes.
Yeah, we always strip grazed.
And was there, once you brought the cows in for the winter, got them off the land, did you then continue cutting the kale, or had they eaten
we had
it all?
had it cut. No, there was still some left, so that would be brought to it, and then of course the silage clamp.
Was there more than one type of kale, or did everybody grow the
There's
same?
sort of marrow fat cow. There was 1,000-headed cow. There's quite a lot of different varieties. Some was maintained, grew to a big height, and some probably might be only 3 foot sort of thing.
So what was the? I mean, you think if it's taller that you're going to get more feed, but obviously there was
Well,
a
it's
reason.
got to be the leaf.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, big stem. I mean, don't produce a food that leaf and that
So you didn't
big, tough
necessarily
stem.
get more feed off a
Not
taller plant.
necessarily.
So it's the leaf side that you're using. What did they do with the stalk that was left?
Well, they ended up going on the manure heap or something like that.
I wondered if it
And
was
they slowly
chopped.
broke down.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it wasn't chopped up.
No,
and
well, we never
silaged or
chopped any.
anything?
I mean, some used to chop down as much of the stem as they could, as long as that fleshy core was in the middle, you know.
Yeah. And things like mangolds, did you grow them or did you buy them in as chopped?
We grew them very, very early in the farm there, but it's later years we didn't bother with them. But used to grow some enormous mangoes, you know.
How did you chop
Then
them?
they were chopped.
Was that chopped with a machine? Where
Chopped with a machine, yeah.
Was it turned by hand or was it
No,
Bampton?
some of them were turned by hand, yeah.
And did you?
I think these were, as actual fact, turned by hand to begin
Right.
with.
So did you progress to a belt-driven one from a tractor to chop it?
That did happen eventually, and then the whole lot
Just
was-
stopped.
yeah, that was sort
Right.
of finished, yeah.
So they were fed silage and chopped root crops
That's right.
and
Hay.
kale and hay.
Yeah. In some cases, they might have a bit of straw substitute, or more concentrate. So it all depends. Yeah.
And were there any? Did Mr. Collins keep what would be the beef cattle, the male offspring
No, we
from
never.
the dairy herd?
We never kept any. No.
So he didn't run a beef herd.
No way. No.
So where?
Sometimes you had three bulls, but we never had any.
Those bulls, were they all Frisians?
Yeah, they were Frisians.
Right. So of course you've got to rotate, so they're not serving the
Oh
daughters.
yes, you had to be very careful of that because you had to keep a strict check on that. If you got
And about how many cows were there in the dairy herd?
About, I suppose, milking at any one time, I suppose, would be, there might be, in different stages of the lactation, might be 35 or something like that.
Right. And at that time, that was in what we now call Weald Farm. That's on the
That's-
right-hand side as you go down.
That's right, yes.
When was the dairy built in its present position down by the signal camp? Roughly.
50, 54, 53, 54,
Right.
something like that.
And had Mr. Collins moved across to Glebe Farm by then?
He, oh yes, that was on both sides, because that time he was living he'd moved from his farm and was in Greyshot House, you see.
Yeah.
Moved to Greyshot House.
So he never actually lived in Glebe Farm?
No, because Mr. Arthur Hayes lived there. He was a part of the farm that looked after all the arable.
Right. And who else milked down in Weald that you can remember at any time?
Well, there was Richins, and then there was Graham,
Is that a surname?
Farmer Graham. Yeah, before you turned to go up to the signal camp.
And where was his milking parlour?
Actually, in the yard, in the yard. I was trying to think who else milked down there besides, because Coville's had their little farm.
And that's
But
Weald
opposite
Manor Farm.
Weald Manor Farm. And there was Oliver's, Backhouse Farm.
Yes,
Oliver's.
they sold to Mr. Rouse.
Then there was the farm up at Ham Court.
And who was there then? Was that Mr. Barlavaughan?
Well, but yes.
Ham Court was milking. Did everybody milk Frisians?
No, most it was all short horns, long horns. I mean, because even Len Hughes, I mean,
From the garage?
At the garage, we had a few cars round.
What, round by his garage?
No, round past the cemetery. Round,
And those were Len's?
not the lanes.
No. Did that? You say they belonged to Len Hughes?
Len Hughes had, yeah.
Right.
George Brooks used to milk them, and odd times I used to give him a hand. And that was 1940. That was, yeah.
Right.
Well, Mount Owen Farm, of course, had something different
Oh,
because
yeah,
they had jerseys or Guernseys.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. And they all used to have names. They used to have names like Thistle and Buttercup and.
What was her name? Brick? No, not Brick. Brick. Oh.
I know it very well.
Yeah.
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
Mr. Rouse had Guernseys as well.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
Guernseys
milk.
and Frisians. And the funny thing is that the quieter the breed of cow, the more mean the bull. I mean, the Jersey and Guernsey cows are beautiful. You would never turn your back on a Jersey or Guernsey bull. They are mean in a professional way.
They can be mean little devils, yeah.
Very. What about Mr. Busby?
Oh, but Busby, they oh God, Mr. Busby. When they walked all their cows all the way up from the Buchan Road, and then they come into Bampton, and then went up Bushy Road, and round to Bushy Road, and then back down to Broad Street, and round by the church. They didn't come straight through Bampton. If they'd have come straight through Bampton and went down Rosemary Lane or something like that.
Was that to eat the hedgerows as they went?
The grass was just about that high. Yeah.
And where did they actually do the milking?
The land's built on with houses on there.
And
Gosh, was it filthy? Oh.
Mr. Roby, who was the milkman, do you remember
Was
Mr.
Roby,
Roby?
that's Roby, that's it.
And he would have known all the.
But there was loads. I mean, there was lots of little farms that had, but only had half a dozen cows or things like
and
that.
there was
And there was Arthur Guerin down the Buchan Road, you see.
there's another Guerin that used to farm as well, isn't there?
There's I think they were all related, but they're related from Buckland and Bampton.
Do you remember Doug Reed milking?
Dougie Reeds, yeah.
Was there ever any milking at Calais Farm?
I don't think so.
No, that's the general.
Have you interviewed Doug?
Not on camera
About
to
this?
do with it yet. He's given me a list of
Has he?
the people he can remember who farmed.
Because I was thinking he would be the one.
Yeah, but-
Because I interviewed
Because
him
I
about
want to get round and talk to everybody
That's
on
right, I
camera.
remember you saying, because I mean, you get some people that just had an odd cow and just sold an odd drop of milk.
That's
You know,
right.
and some were farmers and sent their milk off.
Yeah.
Some sold all the milk off the
Well, that's the
premises.
impression I got from Doug, that there were little tiny farms dotted
There was
around.
lots of little,
Yeah.
just a few cows.
Yeah.
Some sent their milk off and some sold it.
Have a jug full.
Yes, Rose used to deliver milk. Rose Guerin
Did
for
she?
a time,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, and then there was a farm at Lawrad, and you see they always milked.
Yes.
Mm.
We forget
Yeah.
about that because it's well out of Bampton.
Well, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to go over here and pick something
Oh,
up.
that's
you
all
can
right.
keep me off camera.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just trying to think of who else.
I think at one time on a census that Lawrad Farm had 32 people working on it.
Really?
Amazing.
Amazing.
That's a lot.
32.
That is a lot.
On one census. When I was milking, one actually absolute godsend. I mean, most of the other stock was kept down on Mr. Collins's other farm, down at
Yes.
Go Across. So I didn't have any followers to sort of look after until they were almost due to calve. So I mean,
And then he brought them back.
and then brought them back. And then, I mean, that time then probably when that started happening, the herd really stretched to 50 or so. You see.
Yes, I just got this out. Do you remember milking stools?
I do.
Because I mean, I can remember my child, but this is a farm in Yorkshire.
You
Milking
know
stools and
why?
milking by hand.
Oh yeah, we used to milk. We used to milk about 15 down at the Weald Farm
Oh yeah.
before we.
Yes.
They were all yielders.
Yes. And you used
And
to
on
milk
one
those by
occasion-
hand.
Yeah,
But
we
why were some milked by hand then and others not?
Well,
Temperament.
it was all the question of having a big yield,
Yeah.
a big producing, because everybody's trying to meet a target, you see.
Yeah.
And these, I always remember on one occasion, Mr. Collins's mother was coming to the farm, and some visitors, and there was one cow there called Betty Betty 2, and he said, would you hide that cow out of the way because I've got visitors? I said, not likely. He said, what do you mean? I said, that cow's filling the churn up. I said, no, I'm not. He said, she's thin. I said, most of her body goes into the churn. I said, I'm not isolating that cow for nobody.
Why did he want it hidden away?
Because she was deep, skinny.
Oh, I see, because she
got
was
a
skinny,
deep,
yes.
deep, narrow body, see, like this.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, because she was giving all of you to milk, you
Yes.
see. Brilliant animal for yield. Yeah.
You see, to
She gives
most
10
people...
gallons a day. Well, of course, and why they were hand milk, because we were milking 3 times a day. Some cows we were milking 3 times a day,
Yeah,
and some cows we were milking twice a day.
yeah,
So in actual fact, when that happened, you were milking about 4 times a day, really.
yeah, yeah.
You see, because of the 3 times a day and the 2 times.
So it wasn't anything to do with the temperament of the cow?
No.
It was when you were busy or not?
No, because some of those would give you a bit of
Yeah,
a boot, yeah.
yes, yeah, whack with the tail.
Yeah.
Did you have
Yeah.
kick bars to put on the cows then?
Well, I'm going to tell you something now. When I sort of took over from there, I threw out all them. I wasn't going to have any. I thought, well, I didn't have any straps put round their legs. In the end, I did get kicked badly once, but I got rid of all the kick ones.
Yes.
Yeah,
And if they still persistently done and weren't very high yielders, they send it to market.
ah, yes,
You know,
Well, you do that, you see,
yes,
you do that because if you've got a cow that's awkward, that it's taking up valuable time when other cows should have attendance. You
yeah,
see.
okay.
would you
That's-
describe what a kick bar looks like?
Well, we used a figure of 8 round their legs.
Rope or what?
Yeah, rope
Rope, uh-huh.
or a strap. It stops them being free of giving up their milk. They
Okay.
don't let the milk down. You see.
Yes, I
Or
know.
let your
I
milk
remember
down.
milkers on the farm next door to me as a child, and they would talk to the cows. They would sing to them.
A bit of
Anything to-
music or something.
Yeah,
Mm,
to soothe
that's
them, to
right.
letting the milk go. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. No use making them tense.
Mm.
But I also remember at Mount Owen Farm, I remember drawing the cows up there, and he could tell from my drawings, which weren't accurate, but he could say, oh, and that's Daisy, oh, that one's Buttercup because you've got a bony back. And he knew them so well, because to most people, a cow is a cow.
That's right.
But,
Oh,
to,
'cause
but to
peop-
the person who works with them, they know them.
All
don't
the
they?
people at the Royal Coursing said, well, how do you know a difference between one another? Well, that was Whiteley's up there, wasn't it?
Whiteley's, that's
Ah,
it. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Memory's
yes.
come back.
You
hasn't
did
it?
come just like that.
Mrs. Whiteley and Peter, who looked after the cows, and
Yes.
Mike, who was interested in car racing.
Bill Mansfield used to be. Well, one year he was for the South England. He was the highest producer.
I see.
And but with sheer luck, the next year I was the highest producer.
Who did Bill milk for? Bill Mansfield.
For Barlow Walls.
So he milked for Barlaborn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And about what year would that be, or what decade? Talking 80s, 90s,
going
or
back,
before
going-
then?
80s.
In the 80s.
70s.
Mm.
70s.
70s and 80s sounds to me like only yesterday.
Well, it does to me.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing how things do change,
Mm.
though.
Well, I don't know if you'd like a cup of tea now, are you?
Do you know I'll be in a position to say yes?
You are,
Well,
cup of tea, cup of tea. Janet.
Jobs that you've done, when did you finally completely retire?
When I completely retire was when I was September the 18th. Well, in September the 18th, when I was 83. 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Well, nearly 2 years
Yes.
ago. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's put it that way. That was the end.
Do you miss not going to do something? Or
Yes.
you do.
Yeah, this is see.
It doesn't
it's
help the
too much
waistline.
But having said that, I do one or two little jobs, voluntary, no payment. Like I might go over the manor and spray the roses for black spot, or I might prune a few of them. And that's it. That's all I do.
And have you done any teaching? I mean, the young man who is doing a lot more in the garden.
Well, I've
now,
just got it
Toby.
and give him some advice, you know, and yeah, he can do his own thing. But I always say to him, that's what I do. Well, that's the
when
way
you-
I do it.
Yes, when you know a garden, you know the soil and you know where you get
That's right.
cold bits in a garden, because you always get windy bits
Oh,
with
yes,
chill lines. You can
that's
see
right.
it
You
when
get
you've
the bits
planted
that the sun
crops.
never shines on.
And those are invaluable tips
Yeah,
to
yeah,
pass
they
on.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you've now been retired for almost 2 years.
nearly. Yeah, it's gonna be 2 years. Yeah.
Is there anything that you still would love to do?
Well, I'm going to tell you something now. When I was quite young, there were 3 things I wanted to do. I was determined to join the Navy, and 2 other things might seem silly to you, but I wanted to make a clay pot, and I wanted to go up in a balloon.
And how many of those have you done?
I went to sea, join the Navy.
You've been to sea. Have you been up in a balloon?
No,
And have you ever made a pot?
no,
Oh,
Oh, you can do that here.
no.
So it's 3 things you wanted to.
I'm just
Go
hearing
there.
The
this.
3
Make a
things I
pot.
wanted to do was to go to sea, be in the Navy, I mean, and make a pot
Yes.
and go up in a balloon.
Oh,
Oh, well, we can do the clay pot.
No,
Did you get that on film?
finished.
You got,
brilliant.
it's funny.
Mm.
You can make a clay pot.
Oh,
here. Does it have to be on a wheel, or can you do a coil one?
it's the
Oh,
wheel.
I don't
It's
know.
the wheel you want.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, if it was laying bits of clay on top of one another and pressing it, that wouldn't do for me.
You've got to do it on the wheel. I tell you, you make a lot of ashtrays before you make a clay pot.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't make one. I know I wouldn't make
Not
one.
saucers.
There'd be wet slip all over the place.
I've
You know,
had
there-
several goes with
there
a
wouldn't
wheel
be.
and my clay's always taken
They
off.
say, what's that horrible mess in the corner? I said, Roy Shergold's responsible.
Roy was here with the wheel.
Roy Shergold. Yeah.